Shalom, everyone. This is Amir Tsarfati. I am live from Galilee, from Israel. Today, in about 3.5 hours, the sirens will go off for 2 minutes, and Israel will enter into the saddest day on our calendar, the Memorial Day for the fallen soldiers and the victims of terror. Altogether, over 24,000 soldiers and civilians who were victims of terror that died since 1948. And the whole nation is going to be mourning, officially mourning. All entertainment facilities will be closed, no movies, no restaurants, nothing. And tomorrow, all the relatives will go to the cemeteries where special memorial services will be held at 11 a.m., where another siren will go off, and the country's traffic will come to a standstill on the freeways and in every city and village, where drivers will stop, get off the car, and stand and pay their respect. But this is our lives here. I mean, this is exactly what we have to deal with. There's a price for our independence, and soldiers and civilians pay that price. Our enemies are still all around us. Our enemies are still determined to destroy us. There's nothing new. Now, the reason why I wanted to give you a short update here is, first of all, and if you can share it right now as you watch, it'll be very good. But the reason is, in the last 72 hours, I was exposed to so much information that is related to the Temple Mount. And if you're still not following me on Telegram, you probably missed my message there about the dire situation in the Temple Mount. And so I decided to give you a special update on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, so everyone will be able to have access to this information and understand that. Believers all around the world, ever since 1967, are happy and excited that Jerusalem is a city that is compact together, as the psalmist says, which is true. As a city, the city is no longer having a wall as Berlin had. The city has one mayor, one municipality, and you can actually walk freely in all parts of the city. So, in that sense, Jerusalem is indeed reunited. However, we must remember that the most, I guess, important place in Jerusalem's old city is the Temple Mount. And as of now, it is the third most sacred place for Muslims around the world. It has a mosque that was built there in 691 AD. This mosque was converted to a church by the Crusaders, then back to a mosque until today. So starting from the 7th century AD, so obviously 1300 years almost, this place is standing there as a site that Muslims mark as theirs. Now, let me make it very, very clear, and there's a lot of confusion among believers and among Israel supporters in general, and also among Israelis. The confusion that is, I guess, generated from the fact that the scriptures are not being taken literally and seriously. We know for a fact, both in the book of Daniel, in chapter 9, in chapter 12, but also in the book of First Thessalonians and the book of Revelation, not to mention, of course, other parts of the Bible where we know that the times of the Gentiles have begun literally when Nebuchadnezzar basically entered the scene and took over Jerusalem and leveled the temple. From that moment on, Israel was under the Jewish people were under the mercies of a superpower that would either allow them or not allow them to go back and worship in Jerusalem. And this is exactly why Nehemiah in chapter 2, in the latter few verses, people mocked Nehemiah when he was on his way to Jerusalem to rebuild the city and the temple. And they thought, are you going to rebel against the king? And he said, well, no. He said that the Lord of heaven, he's the one that will go before us and make us successful, and we shall build. And you, he told them, the Arabs and the Ammonites and all the others, says, you have no part the in Jerusalem's heritage and memorial. No memorial nor heritage in Jerusalem. You don't understand what Jerusalem means to us. That's why you're mocking us for returning there. Now, let me make it very clear. Nehemiah came back and they restored it, but we all know that it was under the grace of a superpower, the supervision of the superpowers from that moment on, all the way up until today. You're probably saying, wait a minute, Amir, Israel is sovereign country since 1948. Who is standing on your way? Well, the whole world is standing on our way. And the last few days taught me more than all my 49 years of life how much we do not control the Temple Mount. And let me explain what happened in the last few days. First of all, in the last few days, the Hamas and the Islamic Jihad flags were very proudly raised and waved from the Temple Mount without anyone stopping anyone. Now, let me make it very clear. These flags are forbidden in all Muslim countries, and these flags are forbidden even in Palestinian villages by the Palestinian Authority. But on the Temple Mount, we allowed it to happen. That's not enough. Ever since the end of Passover, Jews were not allowed on the Temple Mount. And if that's not enough, we know that while Jews did visit during the Ramadan, during Passover, we found out that the Muslims destroyed ancient relics, ancient structures on Temple Mount that goes back to 2,000 years ago. And we found pieces of all of these antiquities as bricks and rocks that were supposed to block the way of the Jewish visitors. The Jewish visitors walked and they couldn't believe they see broken antiquities on the floor. If that's not enough, the Israeli police outpost outside of the Eastern Gate, the Gate of Mercy, the Eastern Gate, the gate that is sealed off right now. There's an Israeli police outpost. Why? Because the Palestinians wanted to turn that one also into a mosque. Well, throughout the Ramadan, the Palestinians successfully put their some platform, some rugs, and they began worshiping there. Ladies and gentlemen, the Israeli police outpost is now abandoned right there. And the reason why I'm sharing with you all of this is to remind you that although Jerusalem as a city is back in our hands, the Temple Mount is not. Yes, we may have some Israeli security forces taking care of business when it comes to riots and all of that, but we have zero control over what's going on there. Zero control. Which, by the way, should not surprise any one of us at all. The Bible said, and you can read that also in Romans chapter 11, but also in Luke chapter 24, you can clearly see that Jesus himself said that Jerusalem will be trampled by the Gentiles. The Temple Mount will be trampled by the Gentiles. until the times of the Gentiles will be fulfilled or will come to an end. And so, and this is exactly also what in Romans 11 said, that blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles has come in, and then all Israel will be saved. The salvation of Israel is not related to the rapture of the church. It's related to the physical second coming of Jesus to earth. And that is what we learn from Zechariah chapter 12. When Israel will look at him whom they pierced, and they will see him, they will cry, mourn, and repent. And that will be the fulfillment of trumpets, atonement, and of course, as they enter into the millennial kingdom, the fulfillment of tabernacles. But until then, until Jesus is coming physically back, make no mistake, the Temple Mount is not in Jewish control. I am repeating. I know it's not a popular thing. I know some of you are not happy maybe with what I say, but I live here and I see it with my very eyes. We read, we watch, the events of the last week or so proved more than anything that it's not just about a government of change that is so shameful and so despicable, but it's basically the situation on the ground since Nebuchadnezzar. If you really think about it, even when Jesus was there, even when the temple was in its glory, still the Jews were not in full control. It was always a higher authority above them, whether it's the Herodian king or the Roman governors, and they did whatever they wanted. They controlled. They may have allowed the Jews to do something. And fast forward to the future, the Antichrist, throughout the beginning of the tribulation, the beginning of the tribulation will begin when the Antichrist will strike a covenant, a deal with Israel. He will be already the ruler of the world. It is his approval that will allow the Jews to build that temple, and it is his decision, according to Daniel chapter 9, to stop all sacrifices. Israel has zero say. He will allow us to start, and he will stop it when the time has come, and he wants to walk in, as 2 Thessalonians 2 says, and declare himself as God. So the Temple Mount is not controlled by Israel. I will repeat that. We're still in the times of the Gentiles. They still trample the Temple Mount by foot. It's still not a place where Jewish people truly have sovereignty and control. Ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake. The Temple Mount is not controlled by Israel. This is the part of Jerusalem that is still not in our hands, unfortunately. Yes, security, police, it's nice. But as I said, while the Hamas flags are forbidden in Saudi Arabia and in Egypt and in Jordan, even in Palestinian villages that the Palestinian Authority violently removes them, on the Temple Mount, they are allowed. People burn Israeli flags on the Temple Mount. They put a Palestinian flag on the Dome of the Rock. Make no mistake, we may have the security jurisdiction there, but we have zero control on all that is really going on there when it comes to the practices. And under the guise of worship during the Ramadan, the Muslims made it very clear they can turn this mountain into whatever they want. A house of war, violence, political clashes, and basically victory for Hamas. Now, Hamas have zero victory on the ground, but in the morale that the Palestinians have right now, they really truly think that it's theirs. Not only that, let me tell you that the Muslims suggest that Israel should also give away the Wailing Wall, and it's the Muslims that should allow the Jews to visit the Western Wall, the Wailing Wall. I'm not talking about 50, 60 years ago. I'm talking about 2022. I'm talking about this year. This year, Muslims, Muslims who are even sitting in the government, suggest that in the final status, Jews will need permission to not just go to the Temple Mount, but to visit the Western Wall as well. So, first of all, you know, I want you to understand biblically, we live in the times of the Gentiles. Biblically, they trample Jerusalem underfoot. They still are here. Jesus said that in Luke 24, in Matthew 24. Read that also. But I want to remind you, and I wrote that on Telegram, which honestly, I beg you to go there and subscribe. It is important that you do that. So on Telegram, I posted the flags of Hamas. I posted a video there and I wrote this. When you see footage like this, remember the Temple Mount is not really in Jewish control. Even during the first half of the tribulation, when this fake peace will allow the Jews to build the third temple, it won't truly be in their control. Why? Because the Antichrist will stop all sacrifice there halfway through his 7 years deal. Only the return of Jesus back on earth will be the end of the times of the Gentiles. And I'm reading from Luke 21, the latter part of verse 24. And Jerusalem will be trampled by Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. And that verse speaks of the physical return of Jesus, basically. That's also connecting to what Romans 11 said, that's the time the Jews will open their eyes to recognize when the times of the Gentiles will be fulfilled. So remember one thing. Yes, we want to believe that Jerusalem is in the hands of Israel, which is true, as a city it is. But the Temple Mount, the Temple Mount, this Temple Mount is not in our control. And I want to conclude with this. This Temple Mount is not in our control. And the next time it will be in our control, it will not be this Temple Mount. Now you probably wonder, what am I talking about? I want you to read carefully what Zechariah chapter 14 describes as of this physical return of Jesus, the second coming of Jesus, with his feet on Mount of Olives. The Bible is clearly indicating that there will be an earthquake that will cause Mount of Olives to split. And when Mount of Olives splits half to the north, half to the right, that means there's a valley from east to west, which means this Mount Moriah, this Temple Mount, is falling. Everything on it will be falling. Whether it's the dome as we see today, or the third temple that the Antichrist will use throughout the last part of the tribulation, no matter what's going to be there. And when Jesus will be in a temple that is both the latter part of Ezekiel and the book of Revelation describes, it's the fourth temple, it's the millennial temple, it's in a much bigger and a different physical surroundings than what we see today. So, my conclusion is very simple. The Temple Mount that you see today will never, ever, ever, ever be truly in Jewish sovereignty. It will be destroyed, and only when, upon the return of Jesus, in the fourth temple, will be the time when Israel will be back, the head of all nations. Jerusalem will be back, the center of the whole world. There will be theocracy in this world, and things will be much different. But until then, the city of Jerusalem may be compact together, but the Temple Mount is still trampled by the feet of the Gentiles. And so when we see those sites of the Palestinians breaking historical relics and ancient relics and in violating all codes of conduct, such as, not even worshiping there as they should or want or supposed to, but use it as a place for riots and political gain and all of that, waving flags of Hamas and Palestinian flags rather than treating it as a sacred holy site for Muslims, not for a specific group of people. And so I want to tell you, every time your heart is really aching when you see those pictures, remind yourself that these are the times of the Gentiles. They will be fulfilled. They will come to an end. They're now trampling over. Luke 21, 24, the latter part. They're still stepping on it. They're still disrespecting it. In the very short time, the Jews will enjoy some sort of a messianic enlightenment of building a third temple. Even that is a whole big scam and deception, because it's not truly a temple that God ever intended to stand there. It's going to be a religious thing that will be allowed, authorized by the Antichrist, and then stolen by the Antichrist when the time comes for him to change and show his true face. So again, bottom line, yes, it's heartbreaking to see the riots and the stuff. And again, you go to Telegram right now, you see the videos that I talk about, with the waving of those flags, with the horrific things that they do, with everything, the abandoned police stations, everything is there on Telegram. Go to Telegram Messenger and follow me there. And it's quite amazing what we see there. Last thing, Revealing Revelation, my book is out today, finally. Today is the launch day. You can get it. You can order it. Audio version, the printed version, it's all out there. It's no longer for pre-order. You'll be blessed. It is by far one of the best books that you can ever get in order to understand and read, in order to understand the book of Revelation. So thank you again for watching. Please share it with as many people as you can. Thank you. God bless you. And shalom.